Welcome to Freaked Out with your co-hosts, Liz and Landon.
What's up, everybody?
Today, we are finally going to be covering the Carters. Yes, we've covered Aaron Carter in the past before on the podcast under the exclusive content, but today we're going to be covering like the entire family, and there's a lot to cover, so we're going to do little by little.
Definitely, this family is definitely crazy. But I'm shocked though that we're recording this today.
Why is that?
I don't know, because I wanted to do Twitch.
Well, Twitch was on the podcast. I started working on this first, but don't worry, Twitch, when I get my energy back, Twitch is on the docket, on the podcast, coming soon. I have not been feeling well.
I had to intervene and get her on the mend before she spiraled even further.
Oh yeah, it was bad. I have not in the last 2.5 years dealt with anything physically straining, which was frustrating for me. It took away all my energy. I still am not 100%. It was bad. All you guys know I post episodes all the time, but I have never ever taken a full week off of doing podcast episodes. And we're even recording this way later than anticipated. But I've decided through this life lesson that I'm no longer going to be putting myself in any sort of deadlock timelines anymore. Starting in July, I will not be giving announcements of what's to come. I might give you guys a little preview of what's next on the next episode, but I'm going to go by my schedule. I won't be providing dates of when things are going to be posted. We're going to do it so that I can take that pressure off my shoulders, because I think that's a big piece of what has been messing with me.
Stress is a killer.
It really is. That's okay. You live and you learn.
Absolutely. And you got to let the magic flow. When you give yourself a deadline, it's hard to, make magic happen.
So true. So true. And for me, I feel like I miss a lot of key components because I'm rushing through, and I don't want to do that anymore. And I kind of work myself to the bone. So I need more breaks. I'm slowly learning that. Let's get started.
Now, the Fallen Idol documentary came out, and we decided that we were gonna, touch on the Carters again. So we decided to watch it. Watching that documentary,
crazy.
Right? It really was.
So a little background on all of this and how it even came to be. But basically, somebody had sent me an ad about a doll that was available, and they thought it was really spooky. So I went and clicked on the ad, and sure enough, we were fairly close by. So I was like, let's get this doll. And her name was Bonnie Jean. That's what came on the certificate. So I looked it up, and the woman was freaked out by her, and I was like, hell yeah. So we went and picked her up. She came in this huge box, and the box was bigger than she was, and they had a birth certificate in there, and it said Bonnie Jean. We thought nothing wrong with that. We thought it was cool. She kept saying, that's the name I want to stick with. So we were like, all right. Was not a fan of her clothes, begging me to get her changed right away, which we did. And then as we were sitting there watching the Fallen Idols documentary about Nick Carter and the Carter family, this doll was kind of in the background, and Landon's like, oh my gosh, Bonnie Jean. And I was like, oh my God, there is a similarity. We took this doll and I started trying to communicate with it. Now, it didn't tell me if it was or wasn't, but it was. I have yet to communicate with this doll in a bigger way because I have been so sick, but you guys will get to see all of that on the next episode.
She just kept saying Bobby to me over and over. Bobby Jean.
Well, for me, she was totally okay with the Bonnie. Hey, you can hear her louder than I can, but I'm hoping to get to do that soon.
Yes, it was very exciting to get her, but I was actually really excited about that other one, and I'm kind of mad.
We had another doll. So This was a doll that I found online, and she came up. Her name was Elizabeth. Like, hello. She was a psychic. She had been beheaded. There was like blood on the back of her neck. Like, I was so intrigued. There was a whole backstory to her and everything. And we emailed the woman like, hey, can we pick up this doll? And she was like being weird about it. Oh, it's at my daughter's house. I don't know if I'm going to be going there anytime soon or not. And we're like, well, maybe you can ask your daughter. Why do you have it posted? Anyways, never heard from her again. Well, actually, for a while. I never heard from her for a while. And then she reached back out and was saying something weird like, oh, my daughter isn't available. I have to wait till it's me. I'm not going to be out there for like 3 months. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Then take your post down. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that just seems like she never had the doll to begin with. I think it was all a big scam, a big lie, in my opinion.
I agree. There's something sketchy about that.
Nobody
situation.
puts something up on Marketplace to sell it if you're not going to actually sell it.
Right? Like, okay. Normally it's the people that message the people on Marketplace being sketchy and weird, right?
They're like, meet me in the back alley. This lady's like, what is the rush for you to have it? What do you mean, what is the rush?
I even gave her a total backstory, like, I am a psychic medium. You can look me up. I'm pretty popular. And I told her that I had a bunch of haunted dolls and like, I will give her a great home, and nothing. Anyways, we'll get another psychic Elizabeth doll. It will happen. We do have quite a bit to cover, so let's get into it.
Absolutely. Now, for those of you who are new or anyone else, these are predictions. There may not be 100% facts in here, so don't try to come for us.
Right, guys, these are predictions. So anyone, like, this is what I'm seeing. It doesn't mean it's 100% accurate. Although my rate is fantastic not to go, but I need to say it in case somebody tries to come for us.
Absolutely. Accuracy, like 99.9%. But with that being said, you're not going to find this information. You can't go look it up somewhere until it actually comes out.
Absolutely. Unless we're talking about the facts itself. But you'll know what's what.
Jane and Bob Carter married in May of 1979 and got busy and had 5 kids.
They got busy.
They definitely did get busy. Like, geez, 5 children. Wow. Now, they spent the early years of their marriage living in New York, where they owned a bar called Yankee Rebel.
Well, it didn't seem like the bar was working out too much in New York, and basically they all kind of decided to head off to Florida, because Florida will fix all your problems.
Just like Taylor Swift says, Florida. Florida's where you go to bury it all. Now, this family seems very complicated and complex, just with their energy alone, right off the hop. Looks like the mother and father brought that totally into the relationship and, of course, all of their children's lives. Like,
oof, yeah, hot mess from the beginning. What I would like to call an absolute disaster relationship. She was born March 9th, 1959, a Pisces, which, if you know a Pisces...
And I know quite a few of them.
Right? Like, they're really good at, like, making you feel good, gift giving, like, they love, love, love. They put all that out there, but don't cross the Pisces.
Now, Robert Gene Carter was born September 23rd, 1952. He was a Libra, and he actually died May 16th of 2017. He was only 65.
Libra also has that bit of that spicy energy too. And a Libra and Pisces combination can be deadly, especially anyone born in the March side of Pisces.
I would say that Libras also they have a mean jealousy streak.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They hold a grudge forever, ever.
Bob ended up passing away at 65, but before we talk about his death, we have to talk about his life. I actually didn't even know that he had died because he kind of hides behind his kids. He has zero interest in communicating from the other side. Not that I wanted to talk to him anyway. But I just had to put that out there. Their relationship was very complicated from the beginning. Like, I think Bob's family was not a fan of hers. She and him had just problems right out the door. And instead of breaking up, they were like, you know what? Let's fix this by getting married and having kids, which a lot of people did back then.
That was like the thing back then, was like, oh, kids will fix it, when no, if you're already having problems before children, it's probably going to make it way worse. Not probably, it will make it way worse.
Kids cause a lot of tension. Marriage causes a lot of tension. So, like, all in all, I agree with you. But that was back then, you know, that was the time. They did that a lot then.
I believe my parents did that too.
Mine as well. Now, Bob had his own addictions, and Jane had her addictions as well. They didn't necessarily like have these addictions together. They were kind of separate, but they would both scold each other for their own addictions. Meanwhile, they were both doing the same shit. Like, you shouldn't be drinking when you're a mother, and you shouldn't be drinking when you're a dad. Ah, fuck you. Like, constantly at each other's throats, and in a very toxic manner. Like, I'm talking about physical abuse, emotional abuse, mentally. Like, I could see a young Nick Carter dealing with, like, his mom's head getting slammed into a door and dad explaining why he did that. And it was just constant chaos. Like, there wasn't a day that would go by without them being evil to each other. Bob was the one who had initially started the huffing side of things. And I feel like Aaron, and I'm talking about like a baby Aaron, like 2 years old, 3 years old, seeing dad huffing. And dad's like, oh, don't worry, I ain't doing nothing bad. And like, he would notice a difference in his father's behavior when his dad would huff. It was like almost like he would be in this angry, aggressive mode, and then dad would go and huff, and then he'd be happy and peppy and whatever he could do to make himself be better. So Aaron took that in as like, okay, that makes mad moments good, you know?
Absolutely. Children learn what they live.
And you know, it's not a good high either. Like, huffing is like a spinny kind of high. I don't understand the interest in it. From what I gather, like, when Aaron shows me that high that he went through, I get instantly sick. So, like, unless you're used to it, you're not going to feel those wonderful effects.
It works differently for every single person as well.
Absolutely. That's a good point.
My cousin had a friend, because back in the day, which is ironically around this time that probably Bob started huffing, when that became a thing, was when my cousin's friend passed due to huffing. She was a teenager and they tried to stop. She wrote a book about it and everything.
Oh my God, that's terrible. Like, I honestly blame Bob 1000% for Aaron's addiction on that. I know that Aaron was an adult and could have made better choices. I get all that, but I just feel like Aaron was like screwed from the very beginning.
Oh yeah, when you have the life that they're having, the life that they've gone through, you know, it's with parents who are addicted to drugs. I believe they were also homeless at one point, living in a van. You know, they just had a tough life. And when you have all of that up against you, and then you don't even have a support system, like Aaron didn't towards the end there. He did not have a great support system at all. None of his family cared. So it's not surprising that he continued to make those terrible choices.
Exactly.
And not talking about his wife or his fiance or like the fact that he had a kid. I'm talking about like his brother and his mother and his father, and all those people were terrible to him.
Oh yeah.
Which led him to continue down this path.
So fucked up. When talking to Aaron the first time I did the podcast episode, we didn't engage in relation to his dad whatsoever, but now he's become more comfortable with it. Now, each kid had like a trauma bond with each one of their parents. Nick was with his father, and with Aaron, it was with his mother. So the two of them would fight each other because they would each protect that other parent as well, you know? And the girls, I think, would kind of change gears every once in a while. But Aaron was stuck with mom and Nick was stuck with dad. And that's kind of how that energy shifted.
I mean, you can see that Aaron's trauma, you know, with his mother, he always was sticking up with his mother. And I'm sure it was because, he was the baby.
Yeah.
The last baby boy, at least, so, and boys typically are more latched onto their mothers anyways.
Nick and his mother had like a toxic relationship from the time he was 5 years old onwards. And I don't ever feel like they ever recovered, not even for a brief time. Would he apologize to mom and how he treated her? Yes, but dad would like encourage Nick to be really nasty towards his mother, and I feel like that got Nick that attention from dad too.
Oh, of course. And it's really hard when you have parents that are fighting each other, that are staying together, and you're trying to like make the one parent that you like more happy or proud of you. Like, and I think that's obviously where that fight between Aaron and Nick also came from, was like Nick was trying to make his dad proud, trying to get his dad's approval, all that, while Aaron was trying to get mom's approval, trying to make mom happy, trying to make mom proud. And then the parents are like pinning them against each other while they're pinning each other against each other as well.
And they have no like care in the world for that. Like, I think that parents that play their children against each other is bullshit.
It's ruthless. Obviously, Jane was not the mother she should have been for any of them. But obviously, Bob also wasn't the father either.
No, they had zero family.
Long after they had separated, Nick Carter's mother was arrested for attacking the girlfriend of her estranged husband. They had just gotten separated in March. Allegedly, she broke a window to enter her husband's home and then attacked the couple while they were sleeping.
Obviously, she was like really fucked up, like drugs, drinking, you name it. But also, from what I gather, Bob was like rubbing it in her face and like treating this new girlfriend way better than he ever treated her. So like she just had this aggression and anger and made very bad choices, like a child. Like this, she's a grown ass adult. Like, you've got grown ass adult children, and here you are being a fantastic example of what you shouldn't do. You know what I mean?
I'm sitting here thinking how to describe their relationship, and the first relationship that came to my mind was Frank and Monica from Shameless.
Yeah. For like, wow, good description of that.
Like, if you want to know the ins of their relationship, I feel like that would be the best. Frank and Monica.
That makes so
They
much
had tons of kids
sense.
and they fucked all their children up, and they were too busy blaming each other for their own addictions and their own shit.
Wow, good job. And then ultimately, like, Nick's mom just couldn't handle the thought of him being with another woman. And I think she came after this woman a few times. I think this is the only time that it was publicly placed out there, but I think that she did it a few times prior. And I think this girlfriend, yes, with an older man being creepy, much younger than him, but like, I think she got out of there after that, you know?
I mean, she should have. Now, she was arrested for battery, then released the very next day, according to sources. Then a fight took place after a Sunday meeting between the Carters and their son Aaron in relation to resolving the financial differences.
So obviously he probably had to also bail her out, and also like, who's going to pay for mom? I think in and around the time the Carters show had just started, that first episode, I think, is when all of this was kind of transpiring. So I feel like definitely Nick, because Nick was like the caregiver of everyone, but not the mom. He refused to like pay for mom. So it all fell on Aaron's shoulders to take care of mom financially. So yeah, he had to. And then of course Nick's going to be like, why are you giving mom no money? Why are you giving mom money? And Aaron's like, because I love her, because that's my mama. Like, I'm going to take care of my mama. And Nick's like, yo, piece of shit. Fuck you for doing that. Like, she's not a mom, like, meanwhile, they both are shitty parents. Like, God, Nick.
It's tough. It's tough when you are on opposite sides of the fence.
Oh, yeah.
Aaron was made to believe that this was the issue, but in reality, it was not. Later on, Aaron had ended up issuing a statement stating that his mother had taken $100,000 from his bank account without his permission.
Whew, okay, so that is probably like the breaking point for Aaron because he always trusted his mom. Like, even though he knew that she was fucked up and she was always asking him for money, this, that, and the other, he stopped giving her like larger sums of money because he was trying to prevent her from like causing her own demise.
Probably, yeah, spiraling out of control.
Right. So that's when she decided, hey, guess what? I know all my kids' shit. I'm going to get in there and take the money anyway. And the money she was spending was like, yes, on drugs, yes, on alcohol, but also like to appease other people, go on like a yacht with her friends, like trying to keep her friends, because the people that she spent time with didn't really want to be around her. They were only with her because she had a famous kid and they could, be involved in that luxurious life.
And not just one famous kid. She has two famous children.
Right.
And you got Nick, part of the Backstreet Boys, who had millions of dollars at this time, where Aaron was just basically starting out his career, like really pushing forward at this time as a solo artist, just Aaron Carter.
Right. This was like the biggest rift between Aaron and his mom, and I don't think his mom and him ever had that same relationship again from that point on.
Probably not, and honestly, she probably took more than that from him. That's probably just all he knows.
I agree. I feel like he put it out there because he was pissed off, but I think he found out more too, so you're not wrong there. Now, while Aaron was kind of all dealing with this nonsense with his mom, Nick was in the background like, shoulda, woulda, coulda. I warned you, shouldn't have done it. Like, like being that fucking piece of shit. Like not being a person like, no, man, maybe you shouldn't give mom money, or I'm sorry that this happened to you. Like he just came from a like, I don't care. You got yourself in this mess, not my fucking problem. And I feel like that's also another place when the tension started growing between Nick and Aaron. And obviously a lot more issues than that, but it was like a cherry on the cake.
Absolutely. I also think that Nick claimed to have stepped forward.
I call bullshit on that. I think Nick just trying to make himself look good.
I agree there. But if you ever watch the show The Carters, it's definitely one of those eye-opening types of shows. You can see that they're a bunch of kids doing a bunch of fucked up things inside that house. They have no parents to control them in any way. And Nick is obviously trying to be dad and mom in this show, but he's also still in the process of being an international pop star at the same time. He has to go to work. He has to go to the studios. He doesn't understand like how to manage his time and also keep his cool, because you could see the stress.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you there.
I mean, if you watch the show, they're all fucking buck wild there.
Right.
Like Aaron was very young. Like he's running around, and then the sisters are dramatic in the corner, crying, drinking, fighting each other.
And Nick doesn't have any sort of know-how on how to take care of kids because he's
still a kid himself.
Right, but he's also being bossy, but not like giving the kids what they needed. And I think like he had a lot of pressure on his shoulders, right? Like his family was like, look, you're the oldest. You need to make sure all the kids are in line. Take care of all of them. And that was a lot of pressure considering he was also in BSB at a young age.
That's what I'm saying. Like if you watch the show, like he's like everybody, the one episode where everybody was drunk, that he had to go to work and he came home and everybody, the sisters, Aaron, everybody's drunk. Aaron was only 18 at the time. And he's like, you're not drinking in my house at 18. Like, that's not the law. Like, you have to be a certain age. And it's like having to try to be between the cool brother and also being a father figure. Like, he probably was drinking at 18. I could get in trouble for that. Like, you can't be doing this stuff. You have to be responsible.
Exactly.
Like, so that's a lot of pressure for an older sibling, and I know that pressure.
I was the oldest as well, and I did also have to take care of the kids too. But luckily for me, like, I don't know, I didn't have that kind of problem. Like, it was annoying, but I wasn't a mean, nasty sister.
I mean, I wasn't mean and nasty to my siblings either. I didn't have to be, but I also wasn't an international pop star. I wasn't working around the clock
Right.
making music. I didn't have responsibilities
You
of
had
all
to
this
take
money.
care of the kids yourself a lot more. I didn't have to take care of my
Yeah.
brothers as like
Yeah.
yes, after school, but other than that, no.
No, I had to do all of it. I mean, like I said, I had to put a lot of my own stuff on the back burner. So I get where Nick's coming from in the sense of he, at the time, I could feel his energy. And I can see a lot of myself in there, like the pressure of trying to make sure not only your own shit is done, but everyone else's, because the downfall is going to be on you. It's not going to be on the parents.
Oh yeah.
Nobody looked at these parents. In my opinion, as an adult now, I'm looking back like, what the fuck were these parents doing? Like, you pushed your kids into stardom and then basically just fucked off, like,
pretty much,
and left them to their own devices.
Yeah, well, we're gonna get into that.
So were any of the 5 Carter children ever sexually abused?
Honestly, I feel like they all were at one point or another. I feel like Nick was sexually abused within the industry. Well, Howie and AJ were natives to Florida, and they were through voice coaches, and that's how they ended up meeting Nick in the process. From what I gathered, they were like, they saw Nick and they were like, holy shit, dude's got some major talent. And although he was like a little bit younger than all of them, they were like, yes, let's do this. So they took Nick under their wing and they, showed them the way. And when it comes to them auditioning for BSB, I feel as though Nick, because he was like the blonde-haired, blue-eyed, young, impressionable kid at the time, they decided like, let's see what he's willing to do to get this role. That he was going to get the role regardless, but I feel like they made Nick do sexual things.
Fucking sick. You can't just let somebody do what they are there for, to sing and just get in there. Like you said, he was going to get it one way or another, but like, why do you have to go that extra mile?
Absolutely. It was like the producers and also like the managers. Like, I feel like it was in that realm of people. Kind of the talent obviously ran through the family, not so much the girls, definitely Aaron. Aaron also had those creative juices. I actually think Aaron was way more talented than Nick. Not to say Nick wasn't talented, but Aaron had this je ne sais quoi with like that. He's like a triple threat in a way. Like, he could write, he could sing, he could spit. Like, he had so many plans of things that he wanted to do, and he was always kind of in the shadow of his brother a little bit,
Always, because you could see it through the documentary. It's like people were coming at him like, "Oh, you're Nick Carter's little brother," and he's like, "I'm Aaron." Like, I have my own shit. Like, you're here to see me sing, and you're talking to me about like how I'm Nick's little brother. Like, it's tough also being somebody like Aaron, having to be in your brother's shadow, trying to like outdo him. But I agree. I think Aaron was way more talented, way more energized and upbeat than Nick was. I feel like when Nick, had gotten molested, it was like it killed a part of him.
Oh yeah.
To not really push forward to be 100% like Aaron did when he was younger. When he came out with Candy, you see him on stage, explosive energy, he's all over the place, he's having a good time. Whereas you watch some of the shows from Backstreet Boys, Nick is always kind of like, he sings good, he's there, but he's not there.
Yeah, and like Aaron's style is way different as well. Like, Aaron is more like hip hop, R&B, and Nick is so jealous of that. Like, you could see it. Like, even when he was in the show making fun of Aaron for liking hip hop and R&B and like making fun of him, like, you could tell Nick was so jealous of Aaron, because Aaron is like cooler than him in a way,
Yeah, he's got all these friends. He's got a sick setup in his room, like, to make music, and
he just goes with the flow of things.
Whenever the creative juices come for him, right, is when
Nick
he wants to do it.
is very structured. Aaron is not.
Yeah. Like, Nick will go off to the recording studio during the day, and then he comes home at like 10 o'clock at night, and he's like, I'm ready to go to bed. And Aaron's like, I just woke up. I'm just getting ready to make a song here.
Exactly.
And Nick, like, I don't think so. Yeah.
Night and day. And I think that Aaron gets that from his mom, and then Nick gets that from his father. It was always just going to be shit one way.
Clash all the time.
We'll talk about the girls and their abuse and Aaron's abuse a little later on in the next episode. And you know what's really sad is, like, I feel like Aaron was just always like looking up at his brother like, I want to be like you, and Nick is always kind of coming down on him like, you ain't good enough, motherfucker. Like, and that's all he wanted, was to receive some sort of like, hey, I'm proud of you from Nick, you know? And I don't think he ever got that.
Like I said, everybody, even watching the show or watching anything, if you remember anything from when they were in the tabloids, you never really see Nick put it out there about, you know, how proud he was of Aaron or anything like that. He wasn't being supportive in as much as he could have been to Aaron. Even in interviews now, Nick doesn't take accountability for anything.
Nope. When he was fighting with Aaron, he was like talking about how you were taking pictures with Paris Hilton and blah, 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 blah. Like, who the fuck you, like, thinking that Aaron is trying to score with Paris. Meanwhile, he looked at Paris like she was like a sister to him, and like he liked her in that way. And he was trying to be there for her. But Nick is like all about like loyalty to me, motherfucker. Like, he's a dick. He's the one who caused the problems in the relationship, not Paris, you know?
Did Nick abuse Paris at all? Is that why they broke up?
I know that Aaron had like wrote something under one of Paris's TikToks or videos. I don't exactly remember what. And then like Paris liked it. But yeah, she was one of his first victims. And I believe because she doesn't want to get backlash heavily from the media like the other women have, she hasn't really claimed it. But I think eventually she will, once Nick kind of comes down from this, all of the accusations that are coming forward. But anyways, yeah, he definitely hurt her physically, emotionally, mentally, called her things like fat. Like, this girl is like pin fucking thin, like just made her feel like shit, made her feel like she wasn't worthy of him. Like, it was a really toxic relationship.
I agree. Do you think Nick loves his siblings at all?
Deep down inside, yes, I do. I feel like he loves them, but I don't feel like he's a good person to show love. He doesn't know how to do it. He has zero, even now, capability of showing love in the proper way. Even with his kids, he's a very strict parent and not very loving. He gives love as like a reward, like, you know, like kind of like his dad did, you know.
I was just about to say, again, children learn their environment, they learn what they live, and him being the oldest, I'm pretty sure that's how it was for him, was like when he made, you know, the Backstreet Boys, I'm sure his parents hugged him and kissed him when they saw that very first paycheck that got. They were like, oh my God, we love you, Nicky boy. You know, like kissing him, loving him. And he was like, wow, so if I do this is how I'm going to get love. But it's like you have to do something extraordinary to be able to receive that. Yep. And that's how Nick is now, because he's seen it with everyone, like his parents, all of his siblings, it's all the same way.
Yep. It's pretty sad.
It's a vicious cycle that he has to go to counseling, I feel like, to get help to unlearn those things.
He would have to get to a point of admitting that there's a problem, and I don't feel like he's there yet.
That's true. He has to see that there's a problem there.
Absolutely.
Did Nick abuse the other kids at all? We seen how he was with Aaron a lot in that show.
Leslie and BJ, yes. I feel like he's hurt them a few times, you know, but Angel never. Like, Angel always tried to be like the peacekeeper. Her name is actually kind of perfect for her, because she always tried to, like, yes, she had her drunken teenage moments and did some stupid shit sometimes, but he and her had the best relationship. So no, I just her no, but yes, the other two girls, not as half as bad as Aaron got though.
No, yeah, you could definitely tell, obviously, because Nick could beat up on Aaron because he's another boy. Yeah. So he's like, oh, I'm gonna kick your ass.
Right, like Angel was Aaron's little sister, twin sister, so they were the exact same age.
Yeah.
But Nick was always coming down hard on Aaron, but never coming hard on Angel, right? So
because Angel's a girl.
Yeah.
So there are many women that have come forward indicating that Nick had raped them And some of the names are Ashley Rep, Melissa, Schumann, Harshell, Shannon, Shay Ruth. Did he rape any of these women?
He did. He raped all of them. I feel like when it comes to Ashley and Melissa, they were raped based upon like him being drunk, him trying to take control. Like he had alcohol in his system, which brought out this raging, abusive, raping monster. When it came to Shannon, I don't feel like he was drunk when he raped her. Might have been substance, but I don't know. I just don't feel like, I feel like he just kind of did it. I think that she didn't even really tell us all of what happened. There's a lot more she didn't disclose, but it was pretty bad. And I remember one of the girls had claimed that...
Wasn't she drinking though?
Yeah, she was definitely drinking, but there were like people watching, and that's not inaccurate. Even with other women that he had sex with, like women that were consensual and not consensual, he even like had like a little camera so that his friends could watch like him having sex with them.
Like I said, he needs some serious help.
He felt like invincible, really. Aaron wasn't present for the times that Nick raped these women, but Nick had like a lot of friends that would come by, talk to them, and a lot of them became Aaron's friends too as Aaron got older, and they would chit chat, and the drinks would be flowing, and they would let Aaron know like, yeah, your brother did this to this chick and this to that chick, and then he witnessed what happened to Shannon. So he had his own encounter. I really believe that Aaron didn't believe that Nick was capable until he had seen him do it for himself.
Oh yeah, because it's like you don't want to, that's his brother. And it, like you said, he looked up to his brother. He wanted to be just like Nick. He wanted to be a big pop star. So when you're looking up to your brother, you're like, he can't do that. He would never do something like that. And then when he saw it with his own eyes, like you can't deny what your eyes are seeing.
No. And of course, like with Aaron, he has never done anything like that. He has a big soft spot for women. He feels like he's got to protect women.
I mean, yeah, look at it. Started with his mom, the trauma bond with his mom. Like he picked his mom. He had to protect his mom. He's the man. He's got to, it makes sense why he's going to move on to other women as well.
So it scared him a little bit. And he kept that in the back of his mind, filing it away. I'm not going to share that with anyone because I don't want my brother to get in trouble until.
So what would make Nick go forth and rape these women?
I feel like there's a lot of people in the world that like alcohol and their personality just don't mix because they can become quite aggressive. Just like cats. I had a cat, and when you gave him catnip, he used to like beat the shit out of everyone. Like he became very aggressive. He could not like a happy cat. So, we couldn't unfortunately give him catnip anymore. Kind of like same thing with Nick. It was a lethal combination, and I think that's what truly drove him most of the time. The other time he raped Shannon, yes, there was alcohol involved, but I don't feel like he was like drunk. I think it was more so him being angry. A girl broke his heart, and he felt like he could just take over.
He wanted to hurt someone else like he was hurting inside is what I would assume.
That's what I feel. Now, when it comes to Aaron witnessing Shannon's rape, like I feel like he was in total denial. Like I see that he like walked in and Nick yelled at him like, "Get the fuck out of here, motherfucker." Aaron was kind of stunned, and then Nick again aggressively told him to leave. So I think that's kind of how it happened there.
Can you see any more on what if he has abused other women in that way?
I do. I feel like there's approximately 10 women in total. So a lot of celebrities, I found this with a lot of celebrities, including The Weeknd, which we'll talk about him one day. I had my own personal experience there. They have agents and like managers and people like matchmakers, if you will, that pull women that will sign those non-disclosure agreements, that they'll be like, "Hey, do you want to have a good time with Nick Carter tonight? You can't say anything, blah, blah, blah." They'll take the woman to the house. Sometimes the guys will have sex with them. Sometimes they won't. It's like, hooking up. But if he just went up to random fans, like he'd never get rid of them. So they have to like scout out these women to make sure that they do what they need to do. Plus, they're getting paid. Prostitution in a way. If the women weren't giving in to him sexually, like they weren't feeling it, he would force himself on them.
That makes sense with, like you said, you can't just go up to any fan and like you see a fan, you think they're pretty. You can't just go up to them and be like, hey, you're pretty, you want to fuck? Like, right. You can't do that. I mean, even now to this day, there is not a single person in this world, if they got approached and was like, do you want to meet so-and-so? Like any artist out there, no one's going to be dumb and be like, no, I don't want to meet them. Of course you're going to say yes. Like that's where the eagerness comes from. They already know these people want that.
Exactly.
To meet them. Obviously they don't want to be sexually assaulted, but they definitely want to meet them. And if they know that it could turn into something sexual and they're going to get paid from it, that's a pretty enticing package right there.
Exactly. Like high profile call girls type thing.
Right. Yeah.
That's very hush hush still. We'll talk about that in a bigger way one day.
Did Nick learn this behavior from anybody?
Well, I feel like when Nick was young, remember he was also an impressionable boy at the time that he started in BSB. I feel like AJ was somebody who has dabbled in raping women. And again, in the same manner, like high profile prostitution rape. And
I loved AJ.
I know. And I feel like AJ has raped a few women. Again, his is more like drug induced. I don't feel like AJ has ever raped women without that, drug in his system, but I feel like he did it.
That's terrible. No, I can't be a fan of his.
He doesn't take any accountability. He's also very protective of Nick because Nick has that secret. They all have those secrets. Like they protect each other. So
not surprising though. How do the other Backstreet Boys know what happened with Nick?
Yes. They told stories. They've confessed with each other and also witnessed Nick's behavior and AJ's behavior. So they know. They've just filed those documents away in their brain.
Their mindset is that if one Backstreet Boy is labeled as a rapist, then they're all going to be labeled that way. So if any of them admit to it, then they're gone. Poof. Cancel culture, out of here.
Exactly. And because
they'll never get booked.
Exactly. And then because they know about it, that's even worse, So.
Exactly. So then even if it comes out and it's like, yeah, they were, or they knew about it, then it's like, oh, well, you knew and still didn't do anything.
It's pretty bad.
Are the Backstreet Boys connected to the Illuminati?
Yes, they are. Now, again, guys, every member of the Illuminati is not bad, but sometimes they just sign their life away without even realizing
Riches and fame is what they throw in your face. And like I said, you got to think about it from someone who, especially Nick Carter. I don't really know the backstory of the rest of the Backstreet Boys, but Nick Carter specifically, his family was living in a van. They were homeless. Parents are drunk. They anything to get some money to not be in this situation anymore. And someone approaches you and is like, I'll give you all the riches and fame. You do this. Who's going to say no?
Nobody. Very strong on your own to say no for sure. But
I still just don't see anybody with the way the world is saying no.
Yeah, I do. I feel like there's a few out there. Taylor says no. Posty said no.
Well, because they're already rich. I'm talking about a normal person like me and you. If we were approached off the street and someone was like, hey, I'm going to make you rich and famous. All
sign
you have
all
to do
these
is
contracts.
This. Right.
And then,
sign all of this.
You're part of the Illuminati. I get what you're saying.
I'm not talking about a Taylor Swift or someone who's already a billionaire. Yeah. I'm talking about a regular Joe Schmo, thinking about Nick at the time when he was younger. His parents were poor. They were poor. And they're like, sign this. You're going to be rich and famous. And he's like, all right.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, no, I get it. But they're in it, so.
Now let's talk about his wife as well.
Oh my God, it's definitely an important topic to talk about here because she is god-awful, in my opinion.
I mean, very important to talk about, especially with the things that were put out on this documentary about Aaron's death specifically, like what they feel is led up to his death.
Oh, yeah. I feel like she's actually even more evil than Nick is. Pure and utter evil agenda. She's angry. She's really angry because, again, Nick provides attention and love when she's being good or behaving. So when she protects him or does something to protect him, he's like, oh, good wife, good job. Like, and she'll get some attention and praise. So she doesn't care who the fuck she has to throw down with. She'll do it to get Nick's attention. She's always afraid he's going to leave her.
So this is kind of an ass-backwards situation. Nick met Lauren through Angel and Aaron.
Isn't that fucked up? Like, it blows my mind, honestly. I think that the two of them are like well suited for each other because they are both like evil in their own way. She is Nick's karma. That's kind of how I feel.
Seems like it. The way she's very aggressive, especially with the messages she did online.
Oh my God, the donation.
So yeah, the donation. Lauren made that donation to a guy who was trolling Aaron by the name of Ganville, calling himself Aaron's arch nemesis.
Yeah, like, so let's talk about that here for a moment. This woman met her husband through Aaron and Angel. And then because Nick and Aaron are going through their bullshit, she decides, oh, this is cool. I'm going to go entertain the guy that is bullying my brother-in-law. And the baby of all of them, might I add. And being like, let's praise him for his abuse. Like, you can clearly see that Aaron was going through it. And this disgusting pig of a human being went and donated to him to be like, fuck you, Aaron. Disgusting. She doesn't even, I don't even understand why Nick is still with her. Like, Nick has done some really fucked up shit, and I'll to this day, but I don't believe that Nick sent his wife to do that.
I don't think he would want his brother dead. I think maybe Nick had a conversation with his wife, and because she's evil, she just took it to the next level. I think Nick was like, God, we got to get Aaron to stop the shit that he's doing, that he's talking online. He's just going out of it, because at the time, that's when Aaron was on TikTok and talking about how Nick is a rapist and all this other stuff. So Nick's like, we got to get him to just stop.
Yeah, and that
he needs help. And she's like, yeah, let's get him bullied.
Right, let's go to the bully online and be like, we support this cause. Like, what the fuck? Dude said, I hope Aaron dies soon. Like, Aaron's going to die soon. Like, you're okay with all of that? Like, that.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think that Nick wanted that in any way. I think obviously he just wanted Aaron to stop talking, maybe go to a mental health facility, be locked up for a little while, and get help and come back out like a good boy that he wants him to be. But I definitely don't think he was like, kill my brother.
Even after she was outed, she never came and made a statement to apologize. Like, I should have never fucking done that.
And you know what? That just also shows, though, Nick's character, because after all this comes out and he's still married to her, and you find out that your wife donated $100,000, the dude freaked out about it. He was like, oh my God, we just got $100,000 from Aaron's brother. He said Aaron's brother, even though it wasn't Aaron's brother, it was the wife.
The wife, yeah.
But he put it out there to kind of continue pissing Aaron off and coming at him, making him spiral.
If I'm going to be totally honest, I think like Aaron was going on live because he was hoping his brother would come and save him. Like,
for sure.
Because he was like, I'm going to act like a fool. My brother always comes and rescues me when I act like a fool. And because he wasn't. And then I believe he found out that information. And I think that's when it was it for him. He was like totally checked out. He was trying to get his health together for his kid. Like, if you don't give a fuck about your brother, how about his own kid? Like, the kid was still a baby, still is a baby. And you couldn't fucking just put your shit aside to be like, no, you know what? My brother's kid needs a father. I need to step in here. And he never did.
You know, as a father yourself, how would you feel if you were taken from your children? Like,
I feel like Lauren made it like her job to constantly watch. I see that she was bullying him. She would have fake accounts. She was monitoring and reporting back to Nick, which Nick was happy about the reporting back part, but he did not want her to bully. I don't even think he knows that she was bullying him. And I also believe that he was fucking pissed when he found out that she gave that money to Ganville.
I would be super pissed too. That is your husband's brother and baby brother at that. And you're going to go on there and allow this person to continue to bully. And Aaron at this time was spiraling, mentally unwell. Anything you said to him could have made him spiral. This should have been dealt with in the family. This should not have been something that was on the internet, that like you hired some random dude to bully and paying him and stuff because you thought that it was going to work in your favor, where you were going to be behind the scenes.
So I know that the Illuminati like had a huge connection to this guy bullying him. Lauren did this too. I think she was pushing Ganville even harder.
Do you think she was trying to get in the Illuminati?
Oh, she's already in it. Has been for a long time.
Now, does she feel bad about Aaron's death at all now?
No. I feel like she goes along with the motion of the ocean, like, oh yeah, it's really terrible. It's sad that he died. But she has no remorse. She's still in that good fuck you stage.
Jesus. Now, is there anything else you would like to say about Nick in any way?
I feel like Nick, this was like his rock bottom, like his brother's death. He's still spiraling heavily from that. And I actually feel like he is going to go to counseling. He is going to get his shit together. But I feel like he's still a long way before that. I think that if Nick put out a statement in the world saying, I fucked up. I was raped as a kid. This happened to me. I did it to people. I fucked up. I want to break this cycle. I'm going to share my story. I think people would be happy about that. And also it would help these women, like all the bullying they had to deal with. But instead he's still in that denial stage. So it's possible. I hope he does it. There's still time. So change your path, motherfucker. I do also feel like the legal issues are not at all over when it comes to Nick Carter. He's going to have a Diddy moment. And a lot of people are going to be pulling back their relationship with Nick here very soon. More people will be stepping forward. And, well, hopefully that's what humbles him. I hope he gets to that point.
I hope so, too. And sadly, we haven't even touched on BJ or Leslie or the rest of the Aaron.
There's so much.
The Aaron stuff, even leading up to his death and everything like that. But we will be back with a part 2 next time of the Carters.
We'll be conversing a lot with BJ. I'm going to be spending some time with that doll, and we're going to give it a go. So,
until next time, guys, stay freaked out.